All right, y'all. So this is the topic of today's food for thought. It's on a um, what do you call it? A website called vegoutmag.com. So veg like vegetable, VEGOUTMAG like magazine, vegoutmag.com. And the article is, you know your social skills need work if you say these 8 phrases without thinking. Yeah. Some things that a person will say can really trigger a person. They don't know why they're irritated. They know the person meant well, but it was just the way it was worded that it just kind of set wrong with the person. So, strong social skills aren't about being the loudest person in the room or knowing exactly what to say at all times. They're about connection, making others feel heard, valued, and comfortable. But sometimes, without realizing it, the words we use can create distance instead of closeness. Okay? Psychology shows that certain common phrases can unintentionally send the wrong message, leaving people feeling unheard, dismissed, or even annoyed. If you catch yourself saying these phrases often, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means there's room to grow. Here are 8 phrases that might reveal your social skills need a little fine tuning and what to say instead. Number 1, calm down. On the surface, this might seem like a reasonable thing to say when someone's upset, but in practice, it almost always backfires. Psychologists note that telling someone to calm down invalidates their feelings, making them feel unheard or dismissed. Instead of de escalating the situation, it often makes emotions flare even higher. What works better is empathy. Okay? I can see this is really upsetting for you. Let's figure it out together. This approach acknowledges their experience and builds trust rather than tension. Socially sharp people know that connection begins with validation, not control. Number 2, it could be worse. Oh, that drives me nuts. That drives me crazy when people say that. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my take on it, and then I'll tell you what the article says. My take on it is you're completely invalidating what the person's going through. You're acting like, first of all, we're not in a competition. I'm not in a competition with other people. They're not in a competition with me to see whose experience is worse than the other, and whoever's experience is the most awful, they get the most points and they win. It's not a competition. So nobody wants to hear it could be worse. Ain't nobody trying to hear all that because you're not acknowledging that they have a legitimate reason for feeling the way they feel, right? Okay. So it could be worse. When someone shares a struggle, this phrase is often meant to comfort them by offering perspective, but instead it tends to minimize their feelings. Okay? To the other person, it can sound like you're saying their problem doesn't matter or isn't serious enough. While perspective can be valuable, timing matters. Rather than rushing to compare, try simply listening and offering support. That sounds really tough. How are you holding up? This opens the door to a deeper conversation and shows genuine care. People rarely remember the advice you gave. They remember how you made them feel. Okay? Number 3, you always or you never. Using absolutes like always and never in a conversation is a classic relationship pitfall. These words paint the other person into a corner, making them feel attacked and defensive. Psychologists call this global labeling, turning one behavior into a sweeping statement about someone's entire character. Instead of saying, "You never listened to me," try, "I feel unheard," or "I felt unheard when that happened." The first sparks conflict while the second invites dialogue. Shifting from blame to personal expression is a hallmark of strong social skills. Number 4, No offense, but this phrase almost guarantees that whatever comes next will be offensive. People often use it as a free pass to say something blunt or critical, but it rarely lands well. Psychology shows that the human brain fixates on the negative. So even if you add a polite disclaimer, the sting remains. Instead, skip the warning and focus on framing your thoughts constructively. For example, replace "no offense, but that outfit is weird" with "I've never seen a style like that, it's unique." The difference lies in curiosity rather than judgment. Socially skilled communicators know that tone matters as much as content. Number 5. That's not a big deal. You're not going to win a lot of friends with that comment, okay? When someone is sharing something important to them, brushing it off with this phrase can hurt more than you realize. Even if it's minor to you, it may be deeply meaningful to them. Psychologists call this a mismatch of emotional intensity. It creates a disconnect where one person feels dismissed rather than understood. Instead, meet them at their level by saying, "I can tell this matters to you. Want to talk more about it?" This invites connection, builds connection, and shows respect for their perspective. When in doubt, validate first, even if you don't fully relate. Number 6. This is another one that aggravates people. "Why are you so sensitive?" A lot of narcissists will also use this directed at their partners, which doesn't make people like you. This phrase can feel like an attack, especially for people who are naturally empathetic or emotionally expressive. It implies that their feelings are wrong or excessive, which shuts down healthy communication. Psychologists emphasize that sensitivity is a strength. It's linked to compassion, creativity, and deep connection. Instead of criticizing, try curiosity. "It seems like this really affected you. Can you help me understand why?" This shifts the focus from blame to understanding. Strong social skills are built on a foundation of empathy, not dismissal. Number 7. You look tired. All right. Most people think they're being caring when they say this, but it rarely lands that way. To the person hearing it, it can feel like a veiled insult, as if you're saying they look unwell or unattractive. Even if your intention is concerned the delivery matters, instead of commenting on appearance, focus on feelings. "How are you feeling today?" or "Rough day?" This opens a supportive conversation without making someone self-conscious. A simple tweak in phrasing can turn an awkward moment into a bonding one. Number 8. Woo! Whatever. Few words can shut down a conversation faster than this one. Whatever signals disengagement and dismissiveness. It tells the other person, "I don't care enough to continue this conversation," which can feel deeply hurtful. Even if you're frustrated, taking a deep breath and expressing yourself clearly is far more effective. Try saying, "I need a moment to think about this," or "let's come back to this later." These phrases communicate boundaries while keeping respect intact. Socially skilled people know that tone and timing can make or break a dialogue. Closing reflection, small changes, big connection. Social skills aren't about being perfect, they're about being intentional. The words we choose shape how others experience us, often more than we realize. By becoming aware of these common phrases and replacing them with more thoughtful alternatives, you can transform your conversations and relationships. Because strong social skills don't just help you avoid conflict, they help you create closeness, trust, and understanding. And that's something worth practicing every single day. Yeah, nobody responds well to dismissiveness, okay? Nobody. And another thing that I noticed, especially with toxic ass people and narcissists in particular, they have a tendency to dismiss a person who's educated. I'm talking super educated. Like, you could have someone that graduated from Harvard, top of their class, and you're not going to be no schmuck graduating from Harvard. You're going to be smart. You're going to be on the ball. Okay. And, get over here. You do this every time. Get your buns over here. Now. I'm not playing with you, boy. So anyway, sorry about that. He's driving me to drink. Oh, anyway. So anyway, toxic people, insecure people, narcissists will hear a professional person's view on something. Let's say that they are a psychologist and they're talking to you about psychology. Someone who, if they graduated from Harvard, you already know they're smart, smart, smart. Okay. You're not going to be a dummy and graduate from Harvard. They don't want dummies in their school. Okay. So if you went there, that alone is impressive. And then if you got a toxic person that talks about psychology and that's what they are an expert in, a toxic person or narcissist will say they don't have a clue what they're talking about. That's not what happened. What? You realize that person is, graduated from Harvard, right? Or they're a professor at Harvard. Yeah, well, that's what they told you. No, that's actually factual. you know? So, I don't know. People are just something else. They really are. They really are. Another thing that some people do that I've noticed, which I'm not gonna participate in it at all. They will memorize a bunch of things. Come here. Just like a little kid just cannot. Get over here. You're interrupting what I'm trying to do. God dang it. I'm going to lose it in a minute. Get up here. Ugh. I told you he's driving me crazy. Anyway, what the hell was I trying to say before I was rudely interrupted? Somebody, they love to argue with a person, even if that person's an expert. They will, deny that person's experiences, even though they don't know anything about it. And it's like you realize that person is highly educated on that topic, right? Oh, that's what they told you, or that's what they led you to believe, but I know a different perspective. Or, this is the main thing I was trying to get to. They will memorize a bunch of things that they heard, either on a radio station or on TV, or they heard other people discussing it, or they read about it. So they will memorize a bunch of information, and then they will beat you over the head with their knowledge. Well, are you aware of this and you aware of that? Like somebody, let's just take somebody who is an expert on, not really an expert, but they know a lot about history because that was their favorite topic in high school, subject in high school, and they read and read and read and read, and they're just well versed on history. Some people who are very insecure will beat you over the head with their knowledge because they know that the average person doesn't know quite as much about history because they weren't pumped by it, right? It wasn't their favorite topic in school, their subject in school. It wasn't something that they have a passion for, so they may not know as much as a person who that has been their passion and they've learned as much about it as they possibly can. Well, that person, if they're a toxic person, will beat you over the head with that knowledge. You don't know what year that war took place. You don't know what was the end result of that year, that war. You don't know this, that, or the other, and date such and such, and date this and that, and year this, that, and they'll just keep shooting darts at you, these verbal darts at you, because they're trying to make themselves be smarter and make you not as smart because you didn't study the hell out of history. It didn't do anything for you like that. You learned what you had to learn to pass high school, and your passion is in something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a toxic person will argue to the death. And then it gets to the point where when people know that someone does that, when they see that person walking towards them, they turn around, walk in the opposite direction. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue data with this person and dates and times and what happened and what was the deep inside story. The person is not really trying to do all that with you, And I've experienced that at a previous job. The security dude, he wanted to pick a fight. He wanted to discuss war, and what do you think about that war? What do you think about this and that? Because it's a hot topic. So it's real sensitive. Like, certain topics you don't need to be bringing up in public. Why are you bringing that up? You're only bringing that up to make people mad. You know that people have strong opinions about certain things. They could be wrong, but nevertheless, their feelings are strong. And here you are trying to put fire under them to get them to respond to those topics, and so that you could show off your knowledge and make them look like they are not as knowledgeable. And people can sense that you're doing that, and they're going to shut it down. Like when he tried to do that with me, he did it with me and another guy, and the other guy wasn't biting. He wasn't biting the bait. So then he tried it with me. What do you think about war? Remember we had this war, United States had this war, da 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 da. I said, with war, nobody wins. And I turned around and walked away. I'm not going to go into this long, drawn-out conversation with you so we can have a heated argument. You obviously need to fight with somebody that's not going to be me. So take that and shove it, because I'm not doing it. Okay? I'm not doing it with you. Anyway, so it's just one of those things that you have to know what's proper, what's not proper, especially when you're in public talking to people. You don't want to get in the habit of dismissing people, or that's not a big deal. It could be worse. Of course it could be worse. Everybody knows that. But that doesn't address how they feel, And we felt this way back in the day, and it'll always apply. Treat people the way you want to be treated. You don't want nobody invalidating you when you're in pain or you're upset about something. You don't want people going, oh my God, it's not a big deal. Why are you so sensitive? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Chill. Okay. I'll give you a prime example. And it wasn't this type of situation, but, I used to work with law enforcement, and I was talking to a guy who that topic is very, very, very sensitive for him, because he's seen cops do some dirty ass things. Well, I've seen that. We've all seen that. But that doesn't mean every single police officer is a bad cop, a dirty cop, okay? Yes, there's bad cops. We know this. We're aware of that. We know. But hear him tell it, they're all dirty. And I said, I told him point blank, I said, I used to work with law enforcement, and no, not all of them are bad. Well, enough of them are bad that it makes them all look bad. No, you might have had bad experiences. And then I had to go there. I said, what were you doing that you got in trouble with the law in the first place? Okay? Come on, bro. There's more to this story. Anyway, I hope you guys like that article. Talk to you later.